Hello, people of the interwebs. Thank you for tuning in. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. One of which reasons is because I have allergies apparently, and I sound ridiculous. I apologize. I probably sound weirder to myself than I do to you, but still, if I sound all stuffed up, I do apologize. But it's not going to stop me from making a video because I don't really care that much. But second reason this is going to be a little bit different is I'm just kind of totally winging it right now. But I want to talk a little bit about the ethics of preparedness in emergency management. One of the reasons is because everything that's going on in the world right now, there's a lot of people asking questions such as, how do you make decisions regarding life and death for large numbers of people, or even not large numbers, just people in general? This was a big thing also at the start of the plague. Can I say that on YouTube? I know I can't say a lot about it, but we all know what I'm talking about. Especially at the beginning when people were very scared and a lot of people were going to hospitals and that sort of thing. We had to deal with triage and decide who would get certain treatments before other people and the criteria we'd have to come up with that. And when it comes to global conflict, the same thing happens when you're dealing with volatile situations that are life and death for people. How do you make the decision of, or maybe a better way of saying it is, in what context can you make a decision that you know is going to harm other people when it could also help a different demographic of individuals? How do you make the choice, like condemning one group while providing aid to another? It's a classic ethical, moral, and I guess in a way axiological dilemma. And a matter of fact, it is called a little example I'm going to use here. And if you've seen this before, I apologize. Many of you probably have. And it's a little bit cliche, but for those of you who haven't, maybe it'll be interesting to see. It's called the trolley dilemma. And I built a beautiful little art here. I'm a professional artist on the side, so I'm pretty proud of it here. Yep, right here. So right here we have the train tracks. Okay, these are train tracks. So it starts on one train track, and we have, it splits into two. It branches off. There's a fork in the road. And the shopping cart, that's our trolley. I couldn't find a royalty-free image of a train, so I used a cart, like a hand trolley for shopping. Gets the point across, I figure. So we have one guy up here next to the trolley. He has the ability to change the tracks that the trolley is going to go down. Right now, left on its own, this trolley, it's going to go down this path right here. This is where it's set up to go. If this man right here doesn't touch the lever, this is going to go and it's going to kill all these people. I think there's 8 there right now. But it could be 8, it could be 800, it could be 8,000 to 8 million, doesn't really matter. On the other track, should our individual choose to change directions of the trolley, it would go down this track and it would kill only this one guy. It would roll over one man. So instead of 8 people dying here, we could have 1 person die. But this guy up here, next to the lever, if he moves that lever, on his conscience, he'll know that he is directly responsible for this man's death. If this man up here does not pull the lever, then the man down on the tracks would not die. The 8 people over here would die, but the 1 man would not die. So if he doesn't pull it, he doesn't have to live with he doesn't have to have his conscience for the rest of his life telling him that he is directly responsible for someone's death. But what he will have to deal with is knowing that he could have saved 8 people if he had pulled the lever. So in a context like that, how do you make a decision? How do you decide who will live or die? This is one of those philosophical discussions that generally people tend to agree that there's no simple correct answer. It's also one of the moral questions people are asked that there's great disagreement on. A lot of people pull the lever, a lot of people do not. And it's not murder because it's pull it and have this guy die, because you are saving these people. You're saving people, but you are killing somebody at the same time. Well, emergency management and dealing with crisis situations can be pretty similar. And then I'll go back to my main screen here. It can be pretty similar in that example of triaging patients. Granted, maybe you're not, if you don't do anything, everybody's going to suffer. So let's say you have a group of 20 people come in, and you have an elderly man who, we'll say he's 85, and he already has pre-existing conditions. And then you have assortment of children, you have a middle-aged man who's an epidemiologist. If you don't provide services, you just step away and don't do anything, well, they're all going to die, or they're all going to be sick. None of them are going to get the aid that they need. But still, let's say you chose the child or the middle-aged epidemiologist, and the 85-year-old man died. You do have to deal with knowing that you made a choice to deny that individual the life-saving service in favor of another individual, another demographic, another criteria. You could have done something to help him. You didn't. But maybe if you had helped him, then the child would have died. I also see this playing out right now in world events. You know, you can have an area where people are experiencing great suffering, and you could provide them direct support, or you could choose not to. If you do, well, you might be able to save a number of those people. But you also risk losing others. You don't know if it's going to be more or less. It's not a simple decision. But in that context, go back to the overlay. Let's say the man down here on the tracks, he's not a stranger anymore. This time, he's your brother, or he's your spouse, he or she. You have a commitment to keep that person safe. Well, for a lot of people, that changes the question. Now, a lot of people who would have chosen to save the 8 and kill this guy, they'll choose to save the person that they're responsible for. Well, when you have any kind of group then, and you're responsible for them, it seems like there's an argument to be made that you need to make the decisions that favor them. And you can think about this from a large scale, international, national, state, county, local, family. It's fractal. It goes up and down the chain. To questions like this that don't have a simple answer, I think that maybe the best way to deal with it is decide who you have greater responsibility for. So let's say some sort of disaster breaks out, and you have a bunch of people coming to you because they know that you've prepared for it. You have some gear, you have supplies, you have water. But you know that if you give stuff to them, then you won't have enough for your family. You won't have enough for your team, or your mutual aid group, whatever it is. As difficult as it is, and as cruel as it sounds, the right choice might be to put your group first, to put your family first. Because those are the people that you have had a pre-existing responsibility to serve. And that is also why planning for these things before they happen is so important. Because right now, when it comes to disasters, despite popular misconception, communities actually become more cohesive. People stick together more, they become more cooperative, kinder to each other, more helpful. And I don't have any data to support my hypothesis here, but I would suspect that's because most people in modern day disasters in the developed world, where what I just said before holds true is that they know that the cavalry is coming in 3 days, a week, however long it is. They know that aid is coming, and it's only a matter of time. So if they band together, they're going to get through it. What happens when, or if, it's a situation of a severity enough that the cavalry isn't coming? That's when I think you might see that trend reverse. And you might see the current misconception actually hold true, where people become very hostile towards each other. And you don't want to be the person in that scenario who you have no shared responsibilities with, that nobody has your back. You have no mutual aid agreements. You have no community at all. So instead of dragging this out and going on forever, I'll just leave it at that and ask you to think about this scenario. I know it's a little dark and it's a little bit of a heavy one, but I think it's worth thinking about. So if you took anything away from this changed your perspective at all, or you think that I'm crazy, maybe I'm a maniac, maybe I'm heartless and evil, you can let me know that down in the comments, and I'll definitely take a look at that, maybe respond. Whether you loved it or hated it, though, you probably should subscribe. I would appreciate that, just for my sake. Just do it for me, even if you hate me. I'd appreciate it. All right, guys. Have a good one.